What?
I got this one. And, if you have an extra. Only if you have an extra.
Okay.
And I'll share with Adam.
We're live on YouTube now.
Thank you.
Supposed to say hi, YouTube.
So I have to text those Zoom link.
Right, we'll call the October 4th Utility Committee meetings in order. Can we get an approval for the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second? Say second, Joe.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have a chance to look at last meeting's notes, we need to get an approval on those.
I move to approve the last meeting's agenda as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we've got an at-large committee member recommendation. Is that you?
Yeah, I mean, I can make a recommendation unless anybody else has anybody else I want to recommend to put on the committee as at large. Jesse Reynolds. He was with the village for 33 years as a firefighter and a lieutenant.
Old Jesse.
Old Jesse.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, that's just a recommendation if anybody else has anybody else.
Have you talked to him?
I have talked to him.
So we just need to vote on that, I guess?
I mean, is it an appointment, is there bylaws that talks about how we put new members on?
Well, we never followed them before. The mayor, after we recommend someone here, we're supposed to present it to the mayor and the council, and they're supposed to approve it according to the bylaws. But Frank, that didn't happen with Frank Potter. That I
That's
know
why we kicked him off.
I think that it did happen with Frank.
You did?
Yeah, because I was here when that happened. It was like one of the first meetings.
Okay, so they just left the secretary out of the loop, which is, okay.
Okay, so do we want to recommend Jesse?
It's up to you
I'll
guys.
make that recommendation.
Okay.
But just as long as we recommend to the mayor, and then, the mayor takes it into consideration and proposes it to the council for consideration.
Okay. Karen, do you take that to the mayor with the,
Yes, I'll
With the notes or
coordinate with
something?
you. Because it's supposed to go to council too.
Yeah, and I think it requires an application, just like any other utility committee. I mean, any other committee member, you can get what you want.
Okay.
great?
Well, I don't check with you, right?
Right?
All right. Eric, it looks like those are yours, the next several.
So for the sewer audit, Ashley updated the map, but I think that this is exactly where we were sitting at last month, since this is so close to our last month's meeting. But we have 271 total connections and 9 additional connections pending. And I know that Marty and Ashley are going to be working to pick up that process and include Samantha more in that process. Any questions on the sewer audit? Water audit, just going through it quick. We're again still trending downwards with non-revenue water and the value of it as those leases go away. The last page, this table is obviously the most interesting one. Again, showing that, we had quite a bit of water sales drop off, but our non-revenue water is still quite a bit below of where it's been in the past. So we're continuing that trend downwards, and hopefully we can carry that through the winter. For next month, I'll have the annual water conservation report that I'll submit to the committee.
Eric, with the water reporting, I know that we had a brief conversation, but is there, can you update us again on where we're at with, leak detection?
Yep, so we've put together an RFP to contract a firm for the next 10 years. So it'll be able to be a 10-year contract that's renewed once a year. And we'll be advertising that, I believe, Randy, did you have the dates for that?
Yeah, I gave it to Tim.
What's the advertised date?
Okay, the legal is November 9th. The advertisement date is November the 12th. There is no pre-bid. The bids are due December 15th at 3 o'clock. And award to council is January 11th.
I'm sorry, is that what janitor, procurement is water resource?
No.
Budget? Okay. Didn't mean to jump up.
No, that's okay. That one was a separate procurement. So should have somebody in a contract, based on the dates due, we should be able to have contract signed and then initial work outlined for that same council meeting so that they can get started in late winter through next summer.
Eric, are there several companies that do that you expect to bid on it?
Yeah, there are several companies. It'll likely be quite a bit of nationwide contractors. It's kind of want to make sure you get somebody who does that, and that's all their job is. And last person that we had out, they did a great job, but they did everything they could to protect their hearing. Their hearing was their livelihood, and they cared about that above everything else. So, I imagine there'll be quite a bit of different leak detection technologies. And for this initial work, we're going to be surveying all of town. And our intent was to find, several qualified leak detection companies and do a multi-award. And then the ones that we like working with the most are the people that we would continue working with in the future. So we'll do it all of town at once, and then we'll probably every year survey about 20% of town, 20 to 25% of town. So we'll work with the companies we like the best for that renewal.
At one time, you talked about doing that in-house. Is this
This would be
better?
additive on top of that. So we would still be purchasing sounding equipment in-house, and I have the budget for it. And I talked to Marty about it. He just needs to give me what he wants for his guys, and I'll buy that. But for us to survey all of town in-house would take away too much staff for too long.
And as far as that equipment that we're looking at, what we're trying to do is we found some models or some equipment that we like, but we're trying to get with the vendors so they come down and do an actual presentation to see how exactly it works, see if it's gonna fit our needs.
All right, the asset management,
So Ashley's been working diligently with the Southwest Environmental Finance Center, Systems MD, and then Esri, the company that we have our GIS contract through, our software. And so Ashley has to rebuild our geodatabase, which she's in the process of doing. We did fix quite a bit of other issues that came from us trying to upgrade our system for asset management. But Ashley is still in the process of working through that, and hopefully we should be, have all those issues repaired in the next month. And then the risk and resiliency assessment. So I know that Marty and Adam and Randy, and then Joe Kazabowski and Chief Chavez and Chief Thetford have been working with Ashley to fill in the EPA template for the emergency response plan. And so, talking with Chief Chavez, he's really excited about this and really looking forward to incorporating the water utility into some of these emergency response planning and tabletop activities, and making sure that we're a solid part of that process for emergency response.
Okay, the planning on the Alto Reservoir improvements.
So it's been exciting. We finally got MP Chavez out. He's been performing the pressure test. The first stretch of the line, basically from the ball fields up to the very high point up in Alto, came back perfect. We didn't have any leaks at all. There wasn't even a drop in pressure, system pressure, so that line is watertight. The next segment from that high point down to the Alto Dam, we had the one of the valves that they were depending on to pressurize water against failed. It's just super old and corroded. Marty and I went out there today and looked at it with MP Chavez, and it's not something that we can pull apart and repair. It's just in such an awful shape. So we've developed a strategy to basically weld a piece of metal. MP Chavez is going to weld a piece of metal to pressure test against in that old valve body. And then when we design the project, we'll have to repair the crossing there. So we looked at a bunch of different options that would be better, but once you get past that aerial crossing across Eagle Creek, there's root intrusion from the trees, so we know that the lines are failing. And so it just seemed the best approach for us was to tear apart that valve and weld basically a blind flange to it and pressurize against there. But they were, based on the previous tests, we're anticipating that this extra stretch of line should be in good shape because it's been installed at the same time as the other section that was tested. So should hold, hopefully.
So Eric, from the valve that you're talking about across from the aerial crossing there, down to the pump house, that one was filled with flowable fuel, so that'd be a perfect spot to stop and put that blind flange on there also, I'm thinking.
Right when, after the aerial crossing, you have that valve, the 12-inch valve, and then it has the 6-inch coming around this way. Just past that 6 inches where all the roots came in through the top of the pipes, so the pipes busted.
Yeah, we need
that valve and down there.
We need to cut that where the 6-inch is where you have the valve and then you have the 6-inch taken off. That needs to be cut completely because that line goes down towards the decants. So that one needs to be cut off in straight pipe there anyway. So I think if you cut it right, that valve, the 12-inch valve there, and capped it off, I think that's where you're gonna get your pressure test, and then you can go down and do your tie-in from there.
So the main concern that Mike had was just, that line is it's a crossing, but it's still, it's greater than a 45-degree angle. And so there's almost no ledge at where that valve is. And so if, Mike's concern is if we take any pipe off the edge of that, we're not gonna have anything to hold
I agree.
that. And he's concerned if you get any of that ground to slip, that pipe is just gonna fall down. So, we felt that it probably the easiest would be to take apart this valve that's already failed. And if we put it back into service, we'd have to replace this valve anyways. they're gonna cut out little segments in the body so that they can reach the bottom side of the pipe to weld in that metal pipe or metal piece.
What are you guys testing it at? What pressure?
I think that we're doing it at the highest elevation. It's, I think, 25 PSI, so it gets to 100 something at that low point.
Thanks.
So hopefully next meeting we'll have good news and that pipe is in good enough shape for us to start working on rehabbing.
How big is that pipe?
That pipe is, I think it's a 12-inch that's going through Alto, and then after it crosses the highway, it is an 18-inch pipe. So it's substantially bigger than we need for providing water to the ball field. So if there is any spot where there's some damages, it'd be easy for us to slip line that or even just use it as a conduit for a smaller size pipe and just run it in like a HDPE pipe.
All right, you making any headway on your underground storage?
So I just need to schedule the meeting with the state engineer. John Romero has supported us being able to meet with the state engineer. So I'm going to be coordinating with the state engineer's secretary to get an in face-to-face meeting between him, myself, and Roger DePiri. So hopefully in the next couple weeks, we'll get that. I just need to talk to Roger here tomorrow to coordinate a time.
Is it looking like that'll be a cost-effective project, or one time you seem to have doubts on that?
So the original focus of the underground storage and recovery was looking at the high school well. And one of the issues is we just didn't get the retention of water that we wanted. It would only be able to hold water for a couple of weeks before it starts leaking into the Ruidoso. But with our model that we developed in the area, we're looking at the middle Gavilan site that we just rehabbed by John Hall's property there by Fawn Ridge. That area, we should be able to store water there for several months before we start getting water to leave the area where we could divert from. So, and then when it does go down, we'll be able to capture some of it at the high school well site as it's going down grade to the Ruidoso. So with that change in site, it looks more economically feasible, with the exception of this issue that we're having with the state engineer. And so this meeting with the state engineer is kind of going to be a make or break point for us.
On that, when you're pumping it down there, they're gonna charge us against our water rights.
So it's like,
And then when we pump it out again, do we get some leak credit here somewhere, or?
yeah, so with the whole way that the underground storage and recovery works is it's kind of like you're replacing the like a surface reservoir, but you're putting it into the ground into a formation that can hold the water. So you're putting your water in there, it's your water to take back, but you have to show that the water isn't going elsewhere through this pilot study and modeling. And so oftentimes, you'll still get charged a water tax. So, you might inject it into the ground and you lose, say, 20% of it because it extends or it migrates beyond the ability for that well to draw the water back up. So we will have some losses, but it won't cost us double when we divert it back out.
Okay. All right, your Wingfield Park and Midtown drainage.
So we did just get the first draft of the narrative planning document for Wingfield Park. So we'll be reviewing that. But until then, this project's on standby until we finish up the master plan. We'll get Chris, if the council over the next few weeks approves Chris Phillips' contract with Riverman Engineering, we'll get him under a new task order to finalize that design with the approval of the Wingfield Park master plan.
Okay. All right, the hazard mitigation and stabilization, is that you, Adam?
It'd actually be kind of Karen. She's got the easements. Do you have anything, Zeke?
Yeah, she gave me kind of an update on that this morning. We've been currently sending out the new easement packages. To date, we've sent 76 out of 143 total. And the goal is to have all of those sent out by the end of the month, October. And we're hoping to have those all back by the end of the year. Molson's finishing up there. They had to revise one or two locations based on the July flooding. And so they're finishing up that minor revision to the design. So that's what we're working on, easements and finalizing that design on the last one or two locations that got revised with the July flooding that happened.
Yeah.
And Counselor, the other thing is we met with Phoebe and Chris Phillips to review it's called Location 25, but it's the crossing in Two Rivers Park. And so that crossing was gonna potentially take out approximately 30 trees in the park area. And we knew that there was a more resilient natural way that would retain features of the park and still give us the same level of protection of that line. So location number 25 is going to be transferred to, it's called the FEMA BRIC funding. It's a special hazard mitigation fund that we'll be able to apply for along with other repairs in the Two Rivers Park area. But basically there'll be, rather than having the riprap rundown structure that we've seen in the others, this will be a series of 3 grade control structures that will still give us the 5 feet of scour protection, which is the existing design criteria for the hazard mitigation site. So it will have to take, basically these 3 structures will protect each other and prevent that pipe from scouring under. But it will actually create an area that will be fish friendly and a lot more friendly for kids to play around with versus a grouted riprap rundown and concrete gravity wall, vertical up and down concrete wall. So it should fit a lot better into the park setting, and that will free up an additional, I think that the site was estimated at, I think it was like $370,000 for the construction costs. So that will free that up to go towards the other hazard mitigation sites. And from my understanding, the project's a little bit over budget, so it will help us out.
FEMA's paying for both of them.
What's up?
Even though FEMA's paying for both of them, it's
Correct. So there'll be a little bit increase in match. So right now with our current match, it's 7% of the project costs for that are coming from the village. For the brick, it's going to be 25%. So, realistically, we're going to spend an extra 25 to 30 grand for an infinitely better park amenity that doesn't take out 30 large trees. And some of them, one of the trees is over 30 inches in diameter. So several 100-year-old tree that would be a shame to cut down as part of this project.
okay. All right, Randy, what about your Grindstone Dam Projects?
Okay, we have finalized on the dates for for the IFB. That's number 2022-001B. The legal due date is 10/15/21. Advertised 10/20. Pre-bid is 10/26. The bids are due on November the 23rd. The award date is December 14th. And I sent these dates to the engineers, and everybody's good with the dates, so that's a good sign. I also emailed all the information to James Head. That's task order number 4 and number 5. And then the schedule dates for the cleaning project, because that's the one he's really concerned about. Then I sent him all the seepage data, so haven't heard a response back from him, but he's usually off on Fridays. So we also have the task orders for the dam, the dam outlet structure and the conduit inspection. So that's all signed, and I got the copy back from Ye and Associates. They're already getting ready to start on that project. And we've already got the dam monitoring completed. They're just finalizing the report right now. And the other two remaining on the project, on the items from the Senate, or from the actual inspection, is the two repairs for the spillway, for the emergency spillway inspection and repairs. So we're combining that one with the Grindstone concrete coating project. That should reduce the cost. They're working on giving me a price proposal for those two. Then after that, that's it. That's all the big items on the report. So that'll knock out a lot of headaches. So I'll stand for any questions.
All right, who's got the Watershed Projects?
I've got the next 3 here, Counselor. So the Watershed Projects, that is on the next council meeting. So we'll hear about that tomorrow morning, workshop meeting. We'll be recommending Riverbend Engineering. For the water resource projects, our proposed schedule is to advertise on November 19th with the January council contract award. And then
On watershed projects, have you ever worked with Forest Service on some of their watershed monies?
yeah, so we've actually Dick Cook and I worked with the Forest Service on their Joint Chiefs projects, and we actually have some Forest Service funded projects that are occurring up on Eagle Creek on village properties. So one of them is right on Eagle Creek by the ball field, and then there'll be another project next year that's it's called Phillips Canyon, which is the canyon that goes up to Manju Peak. There'll be a village Forest Service project there.
There was a lady at the conference last week, by the name of Carmen, I guess she works out of the Las Vegas district. That's where I met her before, she was talking about watershed money and that they haven't been utilizing all the money that they have, so maybe you can reach out and see if they have additional money that we may be able to tap into.
Okay, yes, I can do that. And then the last one there, master planning and rate analysis. Our schedule is to advertise on the 8th, this Friday, and looking at a December council meeting contract award. And that, again, is going to be a multi-award contract between up to 4 engineering firms and then a planning and financial firm. So we could award as many as 5 contracts.
Okay. Tim, are we're supposed to consider the sewer charges tomorrow. Are we getting ahead of ourselves before this rate analysis?
But I think the rate analysis is gonna be separate, you're gonna be looking at the future needs. And, this is an effort to take a look at our current rates and see if we can give some relief
Yeah.
to the customers.
I just don't want to give them any relief, and then 6 months later, we raise their bill back up.
Yeah. Well, I think this master plan's gonna take a while for us to get done.
Okay.
And, right now, with the cash balance that we see that we're sitting on, I don't think that's, appropriate for us to continue building up cash for that type of a balance.
It didn't look like we could make a principal payment on that extra principal for a couple of years. Was that right?
What I'm gonna be looking at, I haven't seen the numbers from Judy yet, but, that's what she'll provide us tomorrow, but, and I don't know if there's any, bond covenants that allows us not to pay it all off, but, what I was hoping is that we could take some of the general fund cash balance, match it up with the, balance that we have in the sewer fund, and, roll back to at least one of those rates, the $17 per customer amount.
Okay. Well, I guess she can tell us. I just read the stuff that was on the agenda, and it looked like we couldn't make a payment till sometime in '23, other than our normal payments. But Judy will know that probably.
Yeah, and if we can't make a payment, we'll basically take those, cash balances and put them into a fund, so that, we'd have the dedicated funds to pay those payments, and then relieve that fund, relieve that charge.
Okay. All right, stormwater here, Eric.
I've never seen when any entity built up that kind of a cash balance and is utilizing it. I don't think that's fair to the consumer.
So we've talked to Isaac about that.
Well, Isaac's been talking about utilizing some of those funds for quite some time, and I haven't seen any action on that, so, if he has a need for $4 million to purchase filters or whatever that is, then we could set that aside for that repair and replacement.
That, and at one time, he was talking about potentially having to open that other basin. I don't know what he's,
And that's going to be evaluated in the master plan.
okay.
So, right now, the only thing that Isaac's presented is, and it was budgeted for, is the fine screen replacement. So it's been scheduled as part of the Water Resource Projects engineering. But he was waiting for other improvements based on the master plan so that we can strategize the rest of that.
Okay. Okay.
The stormwater now?
Stormwater.
So we didn't get the school board to approve the easement through their property at their last meeting. And so Chris Phillips and I are going to be attending their next regular meeting to explain the project and kind of help them with some of their concerns that they had about the stormwater project. And so hopefully we'll be able to move forward with this project. Otherwise, we'll have to develop a change order and just pipe the water under the parking lot off of our property until it gets to the road. So this is a lot more elegant and beneficial project that I didn't realize the school would fight so much against, but we'll help them with any of their questions, and hopefully we can resolve their concerns and get that easement approved on the October 12th meeting.
Larry, Eric, I don't think the school board has even heard it, so I don't think it's fair to say that the school board hasn't approved it. I think it's been stopped at the administrative level.
Okay.
Which good.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't put on the meeting. You're correct.
So is it on the agenda for this month?
So Dr. Bickard and Clint Taylor both asked us to be there, and they would put it as an agenda item.
Okay, good.
I think Victor's been holding it back from the agenda.
Well, if they don't approve it, wait till after the first of the year. We may have a new school board.
Well, luckily, luckily the stormwater component of the project is not going to happen until after the courtroom renovation. So we do still have some time. It just, we've already awarded a contract for this work. I don't want us to end up being the delay for that project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got the lift station force mains.
Yes, sir. So the contractor got started, mobilized in, and they started excavation at the Circle Lift Station site. And right now they're just hauling off their spoils. They've got their shore boxes are built, waiting for material to start showing up. I think next Monday is when those materials are going to show up for the Circle Lift Station. And so they are excavating the hole and going to be setting in their shore boxes probably by the end of the week, ready to start setting the Circle Lift Station next week, the manholes for that.
All right, your imaginary building.
I'm glad Zeke's here. So we're working with Wilson and Company and P&M. We had to do, Wilson and Company had to do some modifications to the site plan for the building. When they got the control points and surveyed out, the southeast corner of the building was actually really close to the edge of Jerry's, the cliff there to Jerry's shop. So I went out there with Casey from White Sands and kind of measured out and with Zeke and brought it up to the engineer. The engineers did show up on site, and they are going to actually move the building 10 feet to the east or to the west and 10 feet to the north. And they're actually working with P&M to move the power pole. The light pole is there also and they're going to run 3-phase on the pole to the well and then run underground, or to the other side of the road and then run underground to the well.
And they know that and working on engineering?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. And then as far as the old RJU shop building, we received another quote from Dusty Beavers for the demolition of that, and I've sent that out, so hopefully we can get that going also.
Good.
Did I miss anything, Zeke, on that other one?
I don't think so. Dealing with Wilson.
Yes.
Just go ahead and build the building on little carts, and then you move the building to where it needs to go, and we'll put it down.
All right, Eric, the Eagle Creek and Gavilan well field design.
So, on the fault well, they were able to finish all of the annular seal on the well, and then they were able to airlift and drill out the cuttings. So that well is done with the exception of the pitless adapter. So they'll set that once that comes in. The vault for Brownwell was scheduled to be delivered on Friday. And so General Hydronics went ahead and excavated the vault hole and dug out the CCP line in preparation for their work on that site. However, they ran into site constraints, and so Stewart Brothers wasn't able to do the rest of their well work while they had that hole dug for the vault. And then on Friday, it was supposed to be delivered and set, but because of the rain, it was too wet to do the density testing. So still here on Monday, the vault's not done. And then because there's a hole in the ground, Stewart Brothers can't be there to do their well work. Nothing to do with us, but still frustrating that there's those conflicts for space there. So a vast majority of the work is going to be occurring here in October and early November. So we should, by the next time we talk about it, be pretty close to done.
All right, Alto Crest Treatment Plant, Randy.
Okay, substantial completion is still set for January 19th, the final in March 7th, which they're probably going to beat those deadlines, but because they're moving pretty quick on it. Things they are working on right now is the HVAC system. They're just finalizing some of the items on that. Painting is completed. They're working on the vents in the chlorine room. We went through several trainings last week on the chemical skid with the new pumps. That's pretty impressive. All the chemicals are going to be fed by automation. So the SCADA systems are going to be running everything. As the flow increases, so will the ferric and the polymer and the chlorine. So it's pretty impressive how they're setting it up. Filter 1, they're tying in all the equipment. That's quite a process because there's a lot of items that they have to tie in, and they run into a lot of little bitty problems, but they're getting them all solved. The goal is to have it all tied in by the end of this week, and maybe next week have it fully automated. Once they get that completed, and they're going to run it for a while to make sure everything's working properly, and there's going to be some bugs that they're going to have to work out, but after that they'll go to filter number 2 and do the same process or the same type of job, and then number 3 also. They've got the SCADA server all set up. They have a 32-inch monitor for all the plant layout, and it's pretty impressive. They're doing a pretty good job.
Have you found anybody that can run SCADA for you since Gary's gone?
Actually, yes. Terry's pretty sharp. He's coming along real well. And then plus part of his evaluation is taking some of these classes, so we've got it built in, and he's been moving on it, so doing a pretty good job. And I'm also looking at maybe setting up a contract down the road, as a backup if we have issues with the SCADA, and maybe, move on to bigger and better things down the road, so.
I think the college has some SCADA classes here,
Right.
if we need to send him to school or something.
But that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people with the right classes and give them the knowledge, and then have a maybe contract or something set up as a backup if something does go wrong, and we can bring in the expertise to solve some of the problems. So the 30-day look ahead is basically just finishing little bitty things that Smithco's working on. the majority of their work is already completed. They just have a lot of little things that they have to tie in and complete. Training is going to be some of the big things that we'll be doing in the next 30 days. And then working on the instrumentation and the SCADA setup. But other than that, the project's going pretty well, pretty smooth. I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, the restoration of sewer lines and manholes. Is that you, Zeke?
I can get it. Yeah, I get it.
And Nano?
So SAK has completed all the sublining, all the manholes. They are waiting on one, I guess it's a point repair, but a new sewer line installation on Fern Trail. We're waiting on 2 easements on that. They are actually.
No better than go down to Fern Trail.
I know it. But you know, the one on Fern Trail is actually the original design had it going through a decorative rock wall in somebody's property. And so now it's actually moving it out into the roadway and getting all that stuff out. So it's going to be less, it's going to tear up less, less stuff, and it'll be actually out of there so we can access it also. They are, Moles and Corbin is working right now on the punch list. We've found a few things we've looked over, as far as manholes, the bases being cracked, and a lot of them have been from previous. It didn't have anything to do with the SAK or anything they've done. The CCTV that they did after the July flood, they did complete. They found a couple of little issues that they're working on right now. That one of them could have been a pretty big issue on Meander Drive. One of the top pads had collapsed and actually slid down the pipe. So Pro Pipe and the sewer crews actually worked and got the pieces out, so it wouldn't clog up downstream. So they're working to see what they can do with that.
Good. All right, Town and Country.
I'm gonna have all gray hair by the time this one's done.
Yes.
So they lack about 500 linear feet of sewer to be installed on Chavez Road. They have started Mary Drive water line installation.
They found somebody to do it?
They did it. I mean, they miraculously brought in another crew, and one started at the top, one started at the bottom, and they're working towards each other. It looks like they should be have the main installed by the end of the week, if weather dependent. Last week kind of installed them out with the rain, but that's just the main. Then they have to go back and do the services. But their plan is to get Mary completely done, and that way it can be hopefully paved before, weather dependent, and then start on Valencia and then Chavez. We will be bringing a change order to you guys. I've been working with the engineer. They're asking for more days, and then some rock excavation, which is valued. So you'll be seeing that.
Okay.
Which is what?
Valued, like
65 days is
no, the value of the rock excavation itself.
all the value.
Yes, yes.
So what did you guys do on the days?
There's still I proposed 37 days is what I came up with my notes. Marty Howe has worked with the contractor, and he's coming up with 65 days, and I said that's unacceptable. You're going to have to sell that. I don't see 65 days. So
How are you gonna justify that many days?
37.
Because, yes,
30, with the rain days they have, and then
the rain days are separate from the rock excavation days.
no, yeah, that's not mine is 37 complete days with rain days and everything is what I came up with. So Marty has a graph showing their what he's coming up with the 65 days, and I've been looking at it and trying to figure out how he came up with the days and look over our notes that our inspector actually had out in the field also. And
What are they asking for on the Cream Manor walking trail?
I do not know. Zeke, do you-
It ought to be about the same,
For the extra days?
for the rain days.
Yes, sir. The engineer has, and we have notes on them, but the engineer has a a breakdown of all the rain days to date. We've already had one time extension change order that I think Rodney has.
The time extension that they're looking at, Town and Country, was originally just 65 days for rock excavation, right?
Originally they're asking for 120 days total. And they worked with the engineer and the contractor finally came back with 65 days, which I still don't see 65 days being
They're just trying to
feasible.
push it to get into delay and suspension for the winter. They have to
That'd
work-
be bad if that project got suspended for the winter.
Yeah, they've been pushing it back and they haven't approached it properly. They haven't had the manpower out there that they needed. So they're trying to justify it any way they can.
And I've been
Is
pushing,
that General Hydronics?
yes. And I've been pushing it on the engineer to, bring us the documentation for the delays and, what days are.
Guys, we'll have to keep off. I got another meeting now at 4.
Okay.
Scheduled, so. Is there much more on this?
No, we're just about
No,
done. We
the-
only have one left.
Is that-
There's only one left on here.
Eric's gonna close one out here.
Marty, Randy and I met and reviewed the utility locates from High Mesa at the Little D. And we've scheduled a potholing to supplement that since the utility locates didn't find the AC and PVC pipes there. So after this potholing, we'll reconvene and develop a plan forward, which might include another additional potholing project.
Okay, does that take care of all of them there?
So,
Yeah,
I just had one thing real quick.
Okay.
thanks, Tim.
I just wanted to let everybody know that I submitted the CAP, the Correction Action Plan, to NABD last Friday. So that's all taken care of. So, that was a big deal, so.
You're gonna get that dam fixed and treatment plant together, and you're gonna be bored. You're not gonna have anything to do.
Councilman, that might be hard to believe.
You hope.
Yeah, sounds good,
Yeah.
but I get 10 things done and 20 come in.
All right, I guess our next meeting's November 1st. And unless somebody has something else, we're adjourned.